I'm Benjamin Hall, and I'm searching for heroes. Well, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm Benjamin Hall, and this is Searching for Heroes. Today's guest is Eli Sharabi. On October the 7th, 2023, Eli was abducted from his home in Kibbutz Be'eri and taken into Gaza. He spent 491 days underground, through beatings and broken ribs, starvation, rations, sleep deprivation, and constant moves from room to room, from tunnel to tunnel. In the dark, he held on by holding on to his family, his wife Liane and their daughters Noya and Yahel, saying their names like a lifeline. He also became a lifeline for others, sharing food, creating routines, protecting younger hostages when he could. When he was finally released, Eli learnt the unthinkable truth. His wife and daughters had been murdered on October the 7th. This episode opens up our new theme of saved. We'll talk about what it meant to imagine being saved when there was no light, what the moment of release really felt like, and then how you build and how Eli is building right now a life after being saved, in a sense. Body first, mind, then purpose, even when such loss has happened. You know, Eli's story is it's devastation on many levels, but it's also the stubborn daily choice to go on, to help others, and to rebuild. Eli has written a remarkable book about what happened to him called Hostage, and it has become a New York Times bestseller straight away. And it's a testament to how widely Eli's story is resonating. And I would suggest everyone goes out and gets a copy. It is one of the most difficult and yet most uplifting reads that I have ever held. And I think it also carries, this book, in a way that seems almost impossible, the idea of hope, no matter how bad things can be. So look, joining me today is Eli Sharabi. He was saved. He is very scarred, but he is still standing. Eli, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Eli, you've been telling your story again and again. I've seen so many speeches you've given, so many interviews you've given in such incredible detail. And I wonder what it is for you that you're trying to convey, what it is that you hope these interviews in your book are trying to convey to people who are reading them.
You know, it started with the awareness for hostages. Thankfully, most of them back home. And, you know, my story, if I want to pick up one thing that people can take from my interviews, it's appreciation for all the basic things in their life, and freedom, it's priceless. So things like that. That's what I'm talking about.
Interesting, because I suppose your story, it saddens many people. There are so many tragic parts to it. And at the same time, your book lifts people up. It does both. Is that a strange combination?
It's very natural for me. It's I'm a very practical person. And usually in the past, any problem I had, I always looked for solutions. And I'm not considering myself as a victim. I don't want to see myself like that. And whatever happened to me, and it was a big loss, and my life changed 180 degrees, and I can't live in my house anymore in my community. But still, I have a family, I have a friends that loves me, and I'm looking for a way to move on.
When you say you can't live in your house anymore, when did you make the decision to move out, and where do you live now?
When I came back and they announced me about Liane, Noya, and Yahel, of course, for me, it wasn't, I can't live in a place that my wife and my two daughters been slaughtered, been murdered, and every place in the kibbutz, and especially my house, my neighborhood, remind me, in every corner you can feel the tragedy. So I can't have a new beginning there. So I decided that my new start will be in another place.
It's interesting because, how do you balance both the tragedy and remembering what happened, but also the ability to move forward? Do you have to remember what happened while you rebuild, or at some point is it a way of just looking forward instead of backwards?
Yes, of course, what happened on October 7 and my captivity time and my loss, of course, of my Lian and my two daughters and my brother as well, will be with me alongside of my life, but not instead of my life. And I don't need any memorial day to remember my wife and my daughters and my brother. They are with me in each part of my life every day. I remember them, and but the life is stronger for me. And as I mentioned before, people fought for me for 500 days. My brother and sister, my mother, and my friends stopped their life and fought for me. So I don't have the privilege to stay in bed and cry all day.
In your book, you write about how you were able to keep the fear away from you, telling yourself to be calm. And Or, who was one of the other Israeli hostages who was with you, he asked you, how do you manage to disconnect? And you said, that's the choice I made, that this sadness, this crying, this self-pity, it won't help you. You said you're a very practical man, but is that something you were born with? Is that a strength that everyone can have? Or is it nature? Is it nurture? Where does that come from?
It's probably something probably I've born with. This is a part of my personality, but probably most of it's the experience you have in life. And I had more than 20 years of managing people and decide and get decisions on daily basis, loads of them every day. And sometimes, not all the time, in when you are a manager, you need to separate between your decisions and some emotions if you have to get the right decision for the company that you work for. And when I arrived to Gaza, my mission is only one: it's to survive and come back to my daughters as I promised them on October 7. So I didn't care about anything. I didn't care how I feel or something like that. I just needed to survive. And I knew crying or to be sad will not help me in that mission. So that's what I decided to do. You have always a choice how to react.
What would you say to people who are going through something that's really, in their eyes, really difficult, and they're not able to move forward, or they've been severely injured, and they're finding it difficult to get up and to keep living? What would you say to them?
There's any place that look difficult for you in life, and there's almost probably they see darkness around them. There's always some lights that you can find, but I think actually it's the light is inside you, and you just need to look for it, and you can you'll be able to move on. I'm sure each one of the people that have tragedies have some strengths to keep up and move on with his life. And for me it works. If somebody like to cry all day and to be sad for a while, and it helps him, that's great, no problem. I know what is work for me.
And yet, I know you encouraged Or when he was not doing so well. You gave him 2 days to cry it out, to wallow, and then you told him to snap out of it because it distracts us from our mission. So you
Yes.
understood why he had to do it, but you knew that allowing him to continue crying and wallowing was just going to harm him even more.
Yes, and it was a process with my fellow hostages, and I think after a while they understood what I meant in the beginning, because in the beginning they criticized my way and how I react for things. And when I asked them to say at least one thing that I have, good thing at a day, they look at me like I'm lunatic. And it was a very good process that we made together. And I think after 2 or 3 weeks, each one of them start to find 4 or 5 things that happened to him in the same day. And it was like a muscle that you need to work on, and to be optimistic, give you strength. And that's what you need in captivity.
What sort of small things were you looking for in your day in the tunnels that you could say were positive?
It could be anything. It could be, another spoon of food, of rice. It could be another half a pita bread that you get at the same day. It was amazing. If you got tea, that's great. If you got sugar in your tea, that's more than amazing. If the one that gave you food or guard on you on the same day is not the one that humiliate you on daily basis, and maybe left the tunnel for 2 or 3 days, it was amazing days for us.
It's interesting. You talk about some of them, you write in the book about some of them wanted to humiliate you. And you write about your captors, about the people who had you, their beliefs, their contradictions. What did you learn about them, like the ideology of Hamas versus sort of the men who actually had you?
We've lived with them enough, as neighbors, and to understand jihad and how it's a threat in the world. So we are the Israelis probably know better what people doesn't know in the world. And there, I remember that any conversation I had with them, it doesn't really matter about what, any conversation was used to end like they will come in 26 and 27, 28 again to finish their job and to kill all the Israelis and the Jews. And some of them was more there to say that after they finish with us, they come to England, they come to France, they come to Germany and US, and because all the world should be Muslims. There's only a religion in the world, it's Islam. And that's what it was a bit of shocking, that how they brainwashed most of them. But you could see that the young ones were more try to fight with us, try to humiliate us more. And they were more brainwashed than the old ones. Because the old ones, most of them used to work in the past in Israel, and they knew about a little bit about Israelis and Israel as well. And you could see the difference.
What does justice look for you now? I suppose both on a personal scale, but also like a political scale now. What sort of justice should be served?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm thinking about, in terms like that, about justice or not justice. I'm trying not to think too much and deal too much what happened on October 7 and to what happened to my family and to deal with that. And I know the facts and it's enough for me. I'm not a politician. I don't need to find any solution to anything. I need to concentrate about my future, about rebuilding my life and to get better.
Can I ask how you go about rebuilding your life, particularly without your wife and your two daughters, how that happens?
I'm trying to be busy as much as I can. It helps me. Again, it suits me. It doesn't have to suit to anyone. I'm very busy. I'm lecturing in Israel and all over the world for Jewish communities, most of them, and meeting prime ministers and presidents and parliament members, and keep the awareness against, first of all, about what happened on October 7, about the hostages, and about anti-Semitism. And writing this book, for me was a very therapeutic process as well. And I keep with my life. I'm, going to my therapist at least once a week, and I'm taking care of myself. I'm training. I'm eating good, and especially being with my friends and my family. That's the most important thing.
You're listening to Searching for Heroes. We'll be right back after this. Is there anything that you still fear? I mean, you've gone through just the most horrific moments and the worst things. And part of you must think, I can now get through anything. You know, I got through the worst. I can now get through anything. Or are there things that you still fear?
No, it's definitely this is, well, I've been in bottom, if you can think of, first of all, 50 meters underground, and then to come back and hear 2 days before my release to hear about my brother that been kidnapped as well and murdered, and after on the day of my release to hear about my wife and my 2 daughters, and and again 8 months later, I'm alive. I'm very active, and so I feel very, very strong and very confident about rebuilding my life.
I know you said in the tunnels that it was going to be when you were released that you would fall apart and not before then. But you haven't done that. Even with the news, your family, you still haven't fallen apart. And I'm amazed that you thought that was going to come, but it didn't come.
It was most, this way of speaking, it was most for the ears of the young ones, that it will be a time that will face outside with the facts, and some of them was afraid about their girlfriends in this shelter in the Nova Festival, if they're alive or not alive. And I said to them, please concentrate in this chapter now, and we need to survive now. After we release, we face with other reality, and we need to handle with that. So it will be a time for each time, for each period in your life. And for me, yes, I'm crying every day. I'm as I said, my loss will never leave me, and my grief will never leave me, and I miss them a lot. And it's become bigger and bigger for me, and stronger these feelings. But again, I'm not going to let down all the people that fought for me, my mother, my brothers and sisters, my friends, and I love life. I love life. I'm not ashamed to say that, and I'm going to live my life from the beginning. So yes, I have time I'm crying, and I have time that I'm living. It's together.
Could you tell us a little bit about, because I think it's always important to remember people who have left us. Can you just tell us a little bit about your daughters?
Oh, first of all, let's talk about Leanne. Leanne was amazing, very proud British woman, like a cup of tea and beer, and her friends that they have. She had lots of friends in the kibbutz, the English ones and South African, and she loved the kibbutz. She loved the community. She learned Hebrew very quickly, and she was really proud of her family and loved her family. And our daughters were very well raised and very polite, very on the English way, not the Israeli way. And the Noya loved to help disabled children for 3 years before October 7. And that was her passion, to help other people. And she loves French, she loved music. That was Noya, and Yahel was the youngest, and she loved everything that was extreme. She loved skydiving, she loved scuba diving. She just finished her course 2 months before October 7, and we planned to go to Thailand together to dive. And I've done it a month ago without her, and every breath underwater was for her. And she loved football. She played football, and she was amazing, both of them.
And I know for certain that that they must be with you every step of the way, and that their story, as bad as it is, will help others, will inspire others not to waste a moment of their own life. And I think that if you try to take something out of it, it's that what you're doing and the people you're talking to, that helps other people, and maybe it helps prevent something like this happening again.
I wish I wish. I wish. Thank you very much for this. It's important for me. I really hope they're proud for me.
Can you tell me what it was like that first week after you were released? Was that you'd just found out that they had passed away? You'd been held for almost 500 days. What was that first week like?
It was, first of all, it was in hospital, and I was, all around me, my family and my friends, with loads of love and caring, and it was unimaginable. Think about it, that Liano and Hel not with me anymore, and my brother as well, and I came back for a different reality. And I think after a week, I decided I need to go to their graves and say goodbye properly. And we didn't do that on October 7, unfortunately. And probably most of it is to apologize them that we didn't protect them.
Is that something that you think about a lot?
A lot, of course, how I could react differently. Maybe I needed to, to fight with them and maybe die with them as well, with my wife and my daughters. Maybe it was the right way. I don't know. We presume that not fighting with the terrorists will protect them better. And of course, we relied on the British passport. They understood they have a British passport, and they didn't have any boundaries. They didn't care, and they just murdered them.
How about the hostages that you were held with? Have you met up with other hostages, and how close are you now and will continue to be?
I was released with the Or and the Liya that been with me, and Alon, unfortunately, Alon Noel still stayed there for 8 months, more than us. And fortunately, a month ago, he was released as well. And I haven't been in touch too much. I didn't meet them, Or and the Liya. We just text to each other and ask some questions and things like that. I didn't have time most of the time. But since Alon was released, I met him a few times. I've been with him. We're talking every day. He's like a son for me.
You're listening to Searching for Heroes. We'll be right back after this. Your release itself was, it was stage managed. It was propaganda when you were released. What was sort of going through your head in that moment when they were preparing you, they put you on a stage? Did you know you were actually being released at that point? And what did it feel like?
Yeah, well, we understood we were going to be released. They let us know a week before, but you know that in any moment it can change because it is a terror organization. You never never trust them until the minute they transfer me to the IDF. I wasn't sure. At least I'm going home. Yes, this ceremony was really horrible, but we tried not to think about that too much. It was like the last humiliation. We didn't care if they're going to ask another 10 questions. We just wanted to go home. I just expected that in a few minutes I will see Liya, Noya, and Hel running towards me and hug me. And that's what I was thinking about on this stage.
Do you see yourself as a totally new and different person to the person beforehand, or are there still parts of your old life that you have chosen to hang on to that are the same? Like, how do you balance the new you versus the old you?
Well, most of it is the same, Eli. Well, I didn't, change too much, and I'm the same Eli Sharabi that was before October 7 and during captivity, and in the last 8 months after my release, I'm the same Eli Sharabi. I'm doing things, differently. I'm not a CFO anymore. I'm lecturing. I'm writing. I wrote a book. I'm talking in the media. I'm a very familiar person, but it doesn't change me. I'm the same one. I'm the same son of my mother. I'm the same brother. to my brothers and sisters. That's what I feel.
What would you say now, looking ahead? What are you looking to build? You're talking to world leaders, you're lecturing, you're speaking to so many people. Is there something that you want to build? Is there a change you want to make, that you want to lead?
People trying to ask me that if I'm going to be in politics or do something, for my country. And I think I've done enough, but I didn't do that for, for that somebody sent me or something like that. I felt I need to fight for the hostages that remain in Gaza to come back home to their families. That was my mission. I want to keep the awareness. I want to write my testimony because it's a part of the Israeli history. And I don't want that somebody in the future will say the facts was differently. I know people try to do that for other things, so I didn't want to happen. It will happen in this occasion. And so that was important for me. Probably I will finish, to all this, what I'm doing now, probably in 6 months from now, and I'll come back to my, to a, very calm life. I expected that, to go to the beach, to be with my family and friends. And I'm quite sure I will have a spare time. And in this spare time, I'm really, my dream is to take some kids that don't have the ability to pay for private lessons in mathematics and to teach them.
There you go. So building, helping others, still, that's what I think you want to continue doing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And I suppose, just to finish up, is there, for people listening, for everything that you are saying to them, for the problems that are happening in the world, and for everything that happened to you, is there something you would like to finish by saying, a message to them?
I want them to know that I'm really, I'm not considering myself as a victim. I'm a very lucky person to be alive. I'm very lucky to be free. Freedom is priceless. I'm very lucky I had Lian for 28 years. I'm very lucky I had Noya and Yahel. All the experience I had with them and the good times we had together. And I'm really, really lucky that I have a great family and friends that help me with anything.
Yeah.
So just, if you can see that you have enough family and friends that care about you, you should feel lucky.
Well, Eli, thank you so much for joining me today. And whatever you do, you let us know. I know there are millions of people who will support that and lift those up and help you teach others and help create something really positive. Let us know. We're here to help.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Eli.
Thank you for having me.
I think sometimes we have guests on this podcast, and I have to ask myself, I don't understand how they've managed to get through what they've gotten through. And with Eli, that is certainly the case. He has gone through some of the most horrific moments, both in the tunnels and then finding out the loss of his family outside of the tunnels. And what I am so amazed at, and perhaps one of the reasons I started this podcast, is to find out how he can be so strong, how he can keep moving, how he can put one foot in front of the next, how he's using his voice to speak to others to try and make sure this doesn't happen again. I mean, he is a remarkable man, and he spoke about all his experiences in such a calm way, reflective way, and wasn't ashamed or embarrassed to say he still loves life. He understands the horrific loss, but that doesn't mean he should lose the love of life. How amazing that you can experience those two things and how you have to try and bring them together to move forward. Today's theme is, or this month's theme is saved. And I think Eli's stories reminds us also that being saved is by no means the end of it all. Being saved means that's sometimes the beginning of the hardest work. Eli was pulled out of that darkness. He was pulled out of the tunnels, but he came back and he carried the weight of everything that happened underneath it. Those broken bones, hunger, fear, beatings, and he had to find a way through it. And yet, in those tunnels, he said how both calmly and clearly, despite all those things, he chose to help other people in those tunnels. He made himself a lifeline to them when there was no other lifeline. And then on top of that, Eli had to carry the weight of losing his wife and his children. and what unthinkable traumas that would bring. But again, he has and is trying to find a way through. So we must never forget what was done to Eli and to so many others on October the 7th. We must never forget the names of his family, Lian, Noya, Yahel, whose absence is now a presence in every single step that Eli takes. And something else about Eli's story is that for him, family was both the wound and it's also the medicine. You know, Eli lost the ones who gave him strength, that he loved. And then he is now drawing strength from the family who remain and from the whole larger family in Israel, the community that refused to let him fall down. And that's how he finished up the interview. He said that it is about family. Make sure you've got a strong community around you. And I've heard that time and time again in other interviews, how you get through some of the hardest moments in the best way. It's being surrounded by family. They give to you, you give to them. But I'm also thinking that resilience really, it's not one thing that happens. It's something you've got to work at every single day. And Eli has done that. He is doing that. He works every single day. And again, that was true for him in the tunnels, and it's true out of the tunnels now. You know, he had to find small routines every day. He had to be honest about the pain in the tunnels and out of the tunnels, you know. And also the decision he had to keep on speaking, even when it was easier to perhaps go quiet. He spoke to those around him in the tunnels, and he says so in his book, and now he's speaking out again. So, you know, it's a community. I also think that Eli carried other people below ground, and now others are carrying him. Maybe that's what saved really looks like. So look, I think for those listening who are struggling, who are going through something really difficult, Eli's example is something that is, well, maybe it's simple, but it's also very demanding. You hold fast to the truth, you hold fast to each other, and you find a way to just keep going. One step at a time, 1 hour at a time. That's what it takes. Just find a way to reach the next level and keep building. Keep finding small moments of joy, like he did in the tunnels. You look for small moments, even one extra spoonful of food. He turned that into something positive. Look for the positives. I feel that as well when you're going through something difficult. Look for the small positives, and that helps. And let's also just to say again, we've got to remember the memory of Lian, Noya, and Yael. We'll honor them. We must always do that, and all the families, by refusing to look away, by standing up against hatred, and trying to do everything we can to make sure that something like that never happens again. So look, so grateful that Eli was able to join the podcast today. I really am. It's a story I keep thinking about. His tone is something I keep thinking about. His ability to balance everything around him is something I keep thinking about. And it was an honor to have him on the podcast. So everyone, if you have a chance, go out and pick up the book Hostage. It's a remarkable read, and it certainly changes how you look at life and how you might think about what happened on October 7th and the brutality of it all. So go pick that book up if you can, and thanks for listening to the podcast again, and we look forward to speaking to you next week. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Searching for Heroes. Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcasts Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.